بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Alhamdulillah, we begin with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by sending the best of salutations, peace and blessings upon his last and final messenger Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'll try to keep tonight's lecture brief. Hopefully I stand true to my word, inshallah. Okay. It's Friday night though. It's Friday night, right? Can I take my statement back? Okay. Something which is commonly understood is that we as human beings, by default, we are known by association. Understand that. We as human beings are easily understood and read by who we associate with. It's that simple. That association, whether it's intellectual or through our actions. Let me try to explain this a bit further. If I know who your teacher is, I know who you are. If I know who your friends are, I have a really good idea as to who you are. If I know the circle you're in, inshallah, I know very well as to who you are. And as human beings, we're social beings. We need to associate with someone. Eventually, one way or the other. It's a must, it's a given. It's nearly impossible for us to live a secluded lifestyle where we know no one and no one knows us. We're, at the end of the day, inhabitants of this world, of this dunya. We have to exchange, subhanallah, means, and we have to come across various different individuals. It's just part of life for you to live through. So association plays a huge role as to who we are or who we may become. It's not that fortune ball, subhanallah, that okay, we know your future, but at the very least, it gives us a rough idea, or anyone, which track you're on and where you're headed. As simple as this. If you get on a plane which departs to, say, Miami, Florida, and it's clearly visible on the display screen, departing flight number so-and-so to Miami, Florida, and you happen to get on board into that plane, and I'm standing at the terminal, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to predict your future. I know where you're going. You're going to Miami, aren't you? Like, how did you know that? Are you a fortune teller? Astaghfirullah. How do you know the future? The point is, when we do certain things in life, the outcome is very obvious what it's going to be. If I board on a plane which is headed towards Miami, of course I'm going to Miami. If I'm living a certain lifestyle, of course this lifestyle will take me to that certain end. If I'm associating myself with certain individuals, I very well know where I will be, hopefully inshallah, 20 years from now. Because my friends will speak for myself. They speak upon my behalf. Their circle speaks on my behalf. So association is a very serious thing that we shouldn't take so lightly, but rather cautiously. The reason being is because, subhanallah, we do not want our association to end in this world, but rather allow for our circle to assist us in being able to get further and eventually join the company and the association of the Sahaba and ultimately Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And how do we do that? Through our actions. Through, first and foremost, our intentions, and then ultimately our actions. Subhanallah. Now let me get to the point which I wanted to speak of, now that hopefully everyone has a grounded enough of an understanding of where I'm going and what association means. When a person commits a sin, When a person falls into an evil act or something which is of vile nature, something which goes against the command of Allah, whatever that action or that evil act was, or that sin the individual falls into, understand one thing. It's not that this man was the very first person to commit that wrong in the history of this world, but rather he has merely adopted the means or the footsteps of the previous nations who did exactly just that and fell into the same sin. For example, businessmen, if they fail to uphold true values in their transactions, in their dealings, and they start to use false measures, they're just merely following the footsteps of the nation that was destroyed of Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam. Awful kayla wal mizan. Measure appropriately. When you deal with people, do so appropriately. It's the same idea. The nation of Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam deceived people when it came to transactional matters. Today you find individuals, businessmen, doing the exact same thing, just slightly differently, but the idea is the same. So what are the frauds in today's society doing? Basically, they are carrying on the legacy of the nation of Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam in modern day and age. Okay? What's that common similarity between the tyrant of today who goes on causing havoc and destruction and oppression across the globe, massacring innocent children, men, women, could care less as to give any regards to life? This individual or this group of people, their association by default is being linked to Fir'aun. They are carrying on the legacy, the work of Fir'aun, of tyranny, of killing, of taking life innocently. Make sense? You go further. People who have fallen into the sin of the very sin the nation of Lut alayhi salatu wasalam fell into, are merely carrying on that legacy and have by default associated themselves with that destroyed nation. Subhanallah. Let's go on further. The story of Hud alayhi salatu wasalam. The nation of Hud took pride and they felt to be superior over other individuals, other people. And they were very, boastful and proudful and haughty. People today do the same thing. They look at others with this sense of inferiority, like, who are you? You're not worth my time. You're not worth to be even, in front of me, subhanallah. People feel that way. You're a lower caste, or you're this, or you're that. Out of my way. Subhanallah. They are carrying on the same sin of the nation of Hud alayhi salatu wasalam. So in a way, they have associated themselves with the nation of Hud alayhi salatu wasalam. Now here's the thing. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has mentioned, "Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum." This is a solid principle. Whoever imitates whichever nation, they are amongst them or from them. We as Muslims need to be mindful and need to understand this well, that we must associate ourselves with the pious, with the ulama of our times, ulama haqq, those who are upon the truth, those who are living a practical life. Subhanallah, this is another, say, for the youth, cheat sheet. You really want to follow someone? Well, look to see if they are living what they're saying. If they themselves are living an exemplary lifestyle as an alim, as a scholar, then bismillah. Otherwise, look, words are cheap. Words are cheap. Anyone can give a fantastic and a beautiful, very inspiring and motivational talk. Anyone can do that. Anyone, especially in our day and age. Every second person is doing that, subhanallah. But no, that's not what we're looking for. We are looking for people, for leaders, for spiritual guides who themselves are well rooted within the tradition, Quran and Sunnah, so that we can safely and assuredly tell ourselves, Alhamdulillah, I am associated with someone who's associated with, their elders, their teachers, their mashayikh. And it goes all the way to the Sahaba and to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because I cannot risk to be a part of a circle which takes me away from my tradition, from Quran and Sunnah. I cannot afford to associate myself with ideologies or individuals or a group of people who would eventually take me away from my deen. I can't afford that. Because if I get on that path, I'm merely simply boarding that plane which is headed to that destination, and the whole world knows about it. So, keeping this in mind, when we fall into a sin, what we're doing is we're mimicking an act which was carried out by one of the enemies of Allah in the past. And we don't want to do that. Because, subhanAllah, if this is a standard you're setting today and tomorrow someone else commits the same sin, you're in that chain of getting the equal, punishment eventually. And at the same end, if you carry out something which is good and someone mimics or copies that, inshallah, you equally get the reward of you doing it and this person who's following you or copying you in doing what you're doing, as long as it's good. So we have to be very cautious and careful who we associate ourselves with. And there is no compromise. There is no compromise. As mashallah, Shaykh Umar mentioned most of the time that the sickness of today is social media, where people just feel so moved by short talks and numbers of followers, and taking religion, the deen of Allah, from online. Just today, I met a person who was telling me a very disturbing story of an individual, one of their relatives, who went online and started to. She kind of lost her way, and now she's in what the in a hospital where I think there's a special term for it, psychiatry ward, psychiatry ward. She's just gone wild. And he's telling me because she had about 6 months of online access and she was searching and looking into certain Islamic material and things and the world of the unseen and this and that. And I'm like, look, man, I don't specialize in that field. I'll get somebody who can help, inshallah. So online, it's really, I would safely say, online is the playground of the devil. You could disagree with that. You could disagree, but it's literally, for the general public, the awam al-nas, it's the playground of the devil. Oh, if you walk in there, he's definitely taking you for a ride. Put you on that swing and make sure your swing goes over and over and over. So we have to be really careful and cautious. This online thing, it's gotten way out of hand. It has already. So association, subhanallah, even online, who you're following, whose content you're liking. And don't mistaken something that, don't be deluded. I'm just following this individual, like, whatever. It's not like it affects me. No, it does. It does. So be very careful and cautious. Inshallah, we need to be associated with the ulama, with the Salaf al-Salihin, with the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een, the Sahaba, and ultimately Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what better way to start for us than to simply connect with our local imam or local alim? And I've already told you the criteria, the standard of distinguishing between a normal alim or a alim worthy, inshallah, of following. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلق محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.